Okay, students. So, good morning again. Uh, so, today we'll start with the first phase of the compiler, the first step in the compiler, that is the lexical analysis. And we have already discussed the overview of these phases step by step. So, what is the today's agenda? I mean, it's very clear. So we'll look at this first step of the compiler completely from the development point of view. I mean, what exactly is required for implementing the lexical analysis? And before that, we have to also understand that what are going to be our language specifications. And again, before that also, we have to understand few things which would be required for implementing the analyzer. And subsequently, we'll also discuss that what are the challenges or what are the issues you may face while developing the lexical analyzer. Yeah, so this is the thing which I was talking about. So firstly, we'll discuss what are things required for the development of the lexical analyzer. And then we'll discuss with respect to the implementation and the specification point of view that what are the issues that needs to be resolved and that needs to be taken care while developing this lexical analyzer. So let's quickly recapture in just one slide whatever we have seen in the overview part of this lexical analyzer here. So now at this point of time, we all know what exactly is the lexical analyzer and what does it do? So input is going to be any high level language and the output is nothing but the stream of tokens. And I must say the stream of valid tokens. And I should pass this information to my parser, to my syntax analyzer. And apart from this, what other activities needs to be done by the lexical analyzer? Come on, this is the question to you people. We have already discussed what exactly are the other, do's and don'ts of the lexical analysis apart from
I
the sequence of tokens. Yes, please.
identify word boundaries.
Identify word boundaries. Obviously, for generating the valid set of tokens, we have to identify the appropriate word boundaries or word separators. Anything else?
Generate a symbol table.
Generate, obviously, not only generation, we have to develop the symbol table. We have to implement the symbol table. That's also correct. Any other thing? I mean, appropriately to this lexical analysis.
Categorize the tokens.
Let's assume that the earlier guy said with that we have to identify the boundaries, so that will come under this. Anything apart from this recognition of tokens? Anything apart from the recognition of tokens?
Sir, error detection.
Error detection, error recovery. That if I'm generating some invalid set of tokens, so being a programmer, I must handle this. Anything? What I am expecting from your side that hasn't come out.
Valid characters in the sequence in the language.
Let's again take this in the category of valid sequence of tokens. One thing which I'm expecting from your side, which also is considered to be what lexical analyzer is supposed to ignore apart from generating the set of tokens. It is supposed to ignore certain things, right?
Comments and dead pieces of code.
Right. This is what I was expecting from your side at this moment of time. So it generally cleans your code, right? So strips off the blanks, white spaces, new lines, comments. So lexically, I don't need these things. Simply remove them. Otherwise, either you remove them in your test cases or I'll remove them from your source code. Fine. So this is again one important activity generally lexical analyzer completely disregards. And last one of you said that it also handles the error recovery and error detection or error recovery also if it is implemented. So this is the most suitable technique, that if you that you have to introduce the line numbers in your source code or in your test cases, so that if at certain line number the appropriate token has not been generated as per your language specifications, so it should give, okay, at line number 3, this is the invalid token which has been generated here. And for that, someone has to keep track of the line numbers for the generating the error messages whenever your Lexer is generating the invalid set of tokens here. So these are some of the activities which should be seen as an output of lexical analyzer. Now, how I am going to implement this? What exactly is required? So first of all, I need the language specifications, certain set of rules in the form of a regular expression. And all of we know very well, we have studied these things in the TOC, that how we can design the regular expressions for the set of languages, or this time we have to generate the regular expression for certain set of tokens. But this is just the specification part. How I'm going to implement my lexical analyzer? So for that, I need some machine. So implementation of lexical analyzer will always be done using the finite state machine. I mean, your DF, in short, I must say. Yeah. So this part is your specification, and this part is your implementation. So we'll refer the specifications written in the form of a regular expressions, and we'll implement the same using this finite state machine. So this is the entire goal of this particular first step here. Let's move on now. So here we need to understand these 3 things first of all, before actually moving to the development part here. Tokens, patterns, and lexemes. So let me go back again and let me just recapture whatever we have discussed till now related to the lexical analysis phase, however disregarding other phases here. And suppose, let me take one example. Suppose if I have written like this, flag equals to flag, let's say modulus n here, followed by semicolon. And assuming right now we are ignoring the context of these variables in which they are occurring, because right now we are just dealing with the lexical analyzer. So we need to generate the valid set of tokens for the syntax analyzer. That's our goal. So I will say, okay, now being a programmer or as a human, I know this is my identifier, and I say, let me write at this token ID. Similarly, this is my assignment operator, and let me give you certain token name, let's say assign. Similarly, again, this is another my identifier, and let's say this is a modulus, which is well defined probably in my language specification, and again, this is an identifier. And lastly, I have some delimiter in the form of a semicolon. Let me write as semicolon. So this sort of information I need to pass to the syntax analyzer, the valid set of tokens here, right? But again, as a human, I know that this is my word boundary, this is my, again, another word boundary, and so on, so forth, and so on. I am generating this valid set of tokens. So for identifying these appropriate word separators or word boundaries, there must be certain rules or patterns which I have just dictated, that these rules or patterns will come to you in the form of these regular expressions, RE. So the 3 things we required here, one is that these generated set of tokens, right? And the actual values associated with these tokens, the actual strings associated with these generated set of tokens. And in just compiler context, we generally call these strings as lexemes. Fine. And for generating these valid set of tokens, I require certain set of rules or patterns. I mean, some set of policies, right? So these 3 things, we must know what actually is the identification. So again, I'm repeating one more time. So I need to generate this valid set of tokens, and I need to pass this information to the lexical analyzer, but along with this information, I'll also pass the strings associated with these tokens, the strings which is in the form of lexemes. And the whole process which I have executed, I have referred certain rules and patterns which probably have been written in the form of a regular expression somewhere in my language specification. Fine. So these are the three things which we have to understand. What exactly is token here? So word. So any string of characters which logically belongs together. Right? I mean, in your language specification, this might be one of the token. I mean, certain set of reserved words, keywords. There might be certain numbers, identifiers, certain strings, and so on and so forth. So this is one logical category. This is one logical class. This is one class. This is one class of token. This is another class of token, and so on and so forth. Fine, students. Similarly, I have certain rules, I have certain patterns, which will actually facilitate me in estimating these tokens here. So pattern formal definition is the set of the strings for which the same token is going to be produced. Like I have just written one frequent example that, I mean, this L stands for here letter and D stands for here digit. And the definition of this letter is it is going to include, I mean, A, B, C up to this Z here, and digit definition is it is going to include all the numbers from 0 to 9 here. So it says, let's suppose this is a rule, this is a regular expression for an identifier. Usually, most of the specifications generally write the rules for an identifier like this, that it has to by default start with any letter, and after that it should be any combination of letter or digits in any number, right? Generally, we follow this principle, ignoring the maximum limit on the number of characters here. So it says, if I have this pattern, so I'm always going to generate one valid class of the token that is an identifier. Fine, like this. Similarly, I have certain rules, I have certain regular expressions, or I have certain anything which will facilitate me in understanding or in estimating keywords, in estimating or in recognizing numbers, in tokenizing certain strings, and so on and so forth. And finally, I have the lexemes. So lexeme says that I am a sequence of characters which is going to be matched by a pattern to form the corresponding token. Fine. So I'll say, okay, these are the lexemes. So I'll probably right now, considering I have certain language specifications, so I'll consider it as a num token. Let's say this is a number. I'll say this is an identifier. This is a reserved word. I'll say this is a keyword. And this is my lexer, it's a string. So I'll say this is, let me tokenize it as a string. So these are the lexemes and the associated, these are the tokens. And how did I execute this process? I followed the pattern, that's it. Fine guys, everything making relevance? Any comment up to this point? Okay, fine. So now, so this is the thing that we must understand before moving to the another implementation part of the lexical analyzer. So once we understood this, we have to also understand that, let's say we have to transform our numbers, let's say number, I'm writing any integer, into a token, let's say num, which has been written somewhere in the language specification, that this is the token name num. And we have to pass the lexeme as its corresponding attribute to the syntax analyzer. So lexical analyzer says, and syntax analyzer is also demanding from lexical analyzer, you just not simply tokenize the information. I mean, don't send me just the tokens. Also send me the corresponding lexemes associated with those tokens, and I'll consider it as an attribute. So I'll say that the syntax analyzer is expecting that, okay, I'll possibly send you this information that this is a token num and the corresponding string or lexeme associated with this is 26. Fine. So that the subsequent phases can utilize this information for taking certain actions related to the anything. Fine. So integer 43 will become like this. And this is the information which needs to be passed to the syntax analyzer after the successful tokenization. In addition, there must be some, some scope for identifying the identifiers and keywords appropriately. Fine. Because if you recall, I have focused on this word appropriately. I mean, give me any, what we have seen earlier, that there is a well-defined rule for identifying the identifiers. Then what's the big deal in identifying the identifiers and the keywords? Because as of now, we think because both are going to include certain set of characters, so the rules for identifying the keywords and these keywords and the identifiers will be entirely same. Fine. So here, I mean, if we'll take just an example, if this is the some statement temp equals to else plus fag will be tokenized as follows. I mean, just an example. So I'm considering temp as an identifier. This is an assignment operator. Just a second. This is an assignment operator. And else is a, let's assume it is a well-defined reserved word, addition operator, and followed by again an identifier. So again, I'm mentioning that the proper tokenization of the keywords and the identifiers must be done. Proper tokenization. Why? Because the rules for identifying the keywords and the identifiers is entirely the same. What do you think? So how should I resolve this ambiguity? I mean, how will I say that this is my identifier and this is my keyword? Because both are completely matching this pattern. Any response from your side at this point of time? How will I resolve this ambiguity? Come on, guys. I have asked you a very simple question, and that makes sense to ask at that point of time.
Try to match with all the keywords which we are having. Compare with them.
Correct. That is absolutely correct. So right now, this is what I'm expecting from your side. So since keywords are nothing but the reserved words in my language specification, so probably I'll maintain the repository of the keywords in some data structure, in some buffer. And let's say, I don't know what exactly is the data structure right now, but somewhere I have stored, because let's suppose my C language includes 25 list of keywords by default. Let's say, assume like this. So I'll say, whenever I have encountered, whenever something which is matching with this particular pattern, so before saying it as an identifier, I'll match that thing, I'll match that lexeme with the list of already reserved words. If it is matching, then I'll say it is a keyword, else I'll say it is an identifier. So like this guy has said. Fine. So yeah, so the thing which I was mentioning here, that the rules or the patterns for recognizing the identifiers and the keywords are similar. So there must be another metadata structure which actually facilitates us in tokenizing the keywords and the identifiers separately. Otherwise, I would have called this guy even as an identifier, else, right? Which actually is a correct, incorrect tokenization. Right. Now, give me one more answer to my question. I mean, does this statement is syntactically correct? Temp equals to else plus flag? Yes or no, guys? Quickly on this.
No, sir.
Obviously now, because the reason being, I'm not supposed to use the reserved words in the assignment operator. I mean, this assignment operations here. But lexical analyzer says, oh, come on, this is not my fault. Let the another phases handle this error and resolve this error. My goal is to just give you the set of valid tokens, and this much I can do for you. So let's make it clear before moving further. Fine. Now, let's try to understand how the lexical, so from here onwards, we'll discuss the implementation part. So first we'll understand what exactly are the interfaces to the lexical analyzer with other translational phrases, and what exactly is the sequence that needs to be followed in the implementation. So let's see here. So this is just one pictorial representation in which the lexical analyzer is sitting as an intermediary between you people, I mean, between the input source language and the parser, that is syntax analyzer. And I have renumbered the sequence here. That let's suppose that this function has been invoked by this syntax analyzer, and it says, okay, I need some tokens. So syntax analyzer, as a part of first step, it is saying that I require some tokens. So lexical analyzer function will get invoked and say, for that, I have to read certain characters from my input source language, the high level language, right? And I'll possibly generate certain tokens as a part of fourth step and ignoring this third step. Now, the third step says that I have to push back certain extra characters, which probably your lexical analyzer has read. Now, what do you mean by this? Let us take same few examples here. So suppose, again, if I'll take the same example, I mean, flag is assigned to flag +1. So let's suppose the lexical analyzer has read the first character and he say, okay, I'll not make any decision because I have to read some few extra characters. Oh, come on, I have hit an L. So again, let me see what, so this, like this, the lexical analyzer has two characters. So your lexical analyzer must be very smart enough that already he has read two characters. So obviously the third character, he might be expecting that to be a character as well, because he has to reach somewhere at the word boundary to tokenize it as an identifier. So he'll see read A, but he'll again not immediately say that I'll tokenize it as an identifier. He'll again go read on reading G. Now, as soon as it has read the assignment operator, so immediately he will raise a flag. He will say to, I mean, simply himself, oh, come on, I have hit a word boundary. So this exactly is my word boundary, and whatever I have read earlier, let me tokenize it as an identifier here. Fine. Now, in the process of scanning the input, in the process of the reading the input, your now pointer is somewhat here right now. So that is why that what extra characters the lexical analyzer has consumed in order to recognize the appropriate word boundary, he has to push back that extra characters to the input source language, so that the next of the tokenization should resume from the subsequent pointer here, that is assignment operator. Fine. So similarly, when he goes on tokenizing this guy, so he'll not immediately say, okay, this is an assignment operator, because probably you may, I mean, you are familiar that there are certain operators like this also. So he's not pretty sure about it, right? So he'll say, okay, come on, let me read one more character, and then I would be in a situation to say, okay, whatever I have read extra earlier, that is an assignment operator. So this is again my word boundary. And whatever I have read extra, this F, I'll throw back to my in buffer, I mean the input source string here. So this is what we call as a third part step, that push back the certain extra characters here. Now, we well known by this, I mean, we have certain pointer here that the push back operation is necessary due to the look ahead pointer for differentiating between the operators. So sorry, this is a typo from my side. So differentiating between the operators like this, suppose if we have these two operators. So one is assignment and the another one is comparison operator. So I cannot say, I mean, this either this is an assignment or this is a comparison, unless I will read some more extra look ahead character. So that is why this is known as just look ahead. So right now, so I mean, this pointer generally known as which we are moving across the input stream, this is well-known pointer as a look ahead pointer. So from here onwards, we'll call this guy as a look ahead pointer. So this pushback operation is required. And how we are going to implement this pushback operation? So probably, I mean, you do not need to simply do some NGAT CAR because that is again an inefficient process. So I must suggest that all of you must need some sort of a buffer to implement, to implement this kind of operation. Or I would say most probably that you can use the twin buffer in which we have the multiple pointers, right? So this pushback operation must be implemented through some buffer here. Fine, guys, everything is relevant up to this point. Anything which you have not understood, please let me know. I'm ready to take your any doubt at this point of time. All right. So let's move further now and let's see. Just a very small lexical analyzer that if someone wants to develop a random lexical analyzer, so how easy it is to develop a lexer for some random language specifications here. So let us start this implementation process. So first, let's see what exactly are the specifications here. So it says that the lexical analyzer which you are going to develop, this is going to only permit the numbers and the arithmetic operators in some expressions here. So I'm ignoring other things right now here. So this is going to be just very small lexical analyzer which is going to introduce the new numbers and some arithmetic operators here. Obviously that too in an expression here, and that was what we are going to tokenize here. And obviously when I'll tokenize it, so I have to return the token and the corresponding lexemes or the attributes to my parser here. That my function should return. And apart from this, it says that let's assume that we have one global variable which actually stores the value of that particular string. The lexeme is set to the value of the number here. I mean, that particular thing which should be get stored. I mean, if I have a number 56, so this lexeme, this string value is going to be stored in this global variable lexeme here. So finally, this is our goal, that the design requires that a finite set of tokens needs to be defined and also describes the strings belonging to each token. A similar thing which we have said earlier, that I need to recognize the token and the corresponding lexeme as an attribute, and this information needs to be returned by the function to the respective phase. Fine, students? So let us see, this is very small lecture here. I mean, just for the understanding point of view with respect to the implementation. So we included some hash include files, and I just declared this global variable lexeme beforehand, and we just introducing the definition of this lexical analyzer as a part of this particular specification. So what thing I am to declare? So I have declared one character, I mean, which is always going to be stored in this identifier C here. What I'm going to read one by one from my input source stream here. So I just enter into an infinite while loop. I mean, I'll keep on reading the characters. Let's see how much. So on entering this infinite loop, I have to read one first character here. So for that, I just did this IO operation using get char operation. So the character is stored here right now. And here, let me introduce this laser pointer here. Yes. So firstly, I have read this character here using this, performing this IO operation here. Now, as a part of this, first I'm going to check whether this character is a white space or is any tab character, because that obviously is my goal of the lexical analyzer. So I'll simply ignore this. I'll just put it semicolon. I just came out of this. So if it is this. So discard the white spaces, any tabs, any things here. Fine. And if it is a number, or sorry, if it is a single digit here, so for that we are using this function isDigit. So isDigit is applied on this character. If it is a digit, then it is acceptable. Fine. Now, if it is a digit, then I should store this information to the global variable lexeme. Remember, I said that if I am writing 25, so I have to introduce this particular thing that I have to compute that what exactly I have read, that is 2 here. So what we are doing is we are just performing the subtraction with the ASCII value of the 0, and that will give me the 2 in the lexeme part. Fine. Is everything clear up to this point? So if it is clear up to this point, now you tell me what is going to be my next step. Come on, guys, please be interactive. What is going to be my next step? Already I have read the first character. No one? It's very unfortunate. I'm asking you something which should, which is completely making relevance at this point of time, whatever we have discussed up to this point. What should be my next step? Come on, guys, at least I need one voices from your side. Doesn't matter relevant response or irrelevant.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, I have a doubt. Like, if we have to scan 25, so first we'll scan 2, then the integer 2 will be stored in lexeme. Then, when the loop continues, we'll scan 5. So this same lexeme will be overwritten with 5. So
no. So I did not show you the rest part of the code. So what I was asking you, you have eventually answered that question. So what is going to be my next step? That I have to read the next character before tokenizing it too, right? So obviously I'll use probably some looping variable inside that, and that will fulfill and do the needful. So let us see. Did I respond to your question or not?
Yes, sir.
So what is going to be my next step? So as this guy said, that I have read the 2 and I have stored the lexeme in the lexeme 2. So again, I'll do the IO operation by this getChar, and I store this character here, that is 5. All right. Now, lexical analyzer has already read this. Now he doesn't know what it comes next. Let's say 6 will come next. So he'll say, I'm not going to tokenize. Unless, so what exactly is the strategy in this else part? That I'll keep on reading these digits till I hit another class of the token. And what is another class of token? The arithmetic operators. Fine. Let's suppose if I have read this, okay, then lexical analyzer say, let me come out of the loop, and whatever I have read up to this point, let me tokenize completely as num. This is what exactly I'm going to do as a part of lexical analyzer in every compiler. So I have read the next character, and I'll say, let me rub this. So I'll say right now I'll do this operation iteratively. So while if it is a digit C, I'm just invoking this function. If it is going to be the same character from the same class, that is number, digit here, then again I'll do the same process which I have did here. I'll just convert this 2 into now 25, and we know exactly how I'm going to do by just doing this decimal expansion of this number. So I have the previous number, that is 2, which is already stored in lexeme 2, and I have simply performed the multiplication with the 10, and again I am performing the subtraction with the ASCII value of the 0, and that will give me, let's say, 25 here. Fine. Now again, my question to you, all of you, and this time I want some responses from your side. What should be my next line of code? And what should be my next step?
C equals to getChar again.
Correct. So I have to read the next character because I cannot recognize this as a token right now. So again, I'll do the IO here, and I store here, and I'll say, I'll go back and I'll check whether it is a digit. So obviously now 6 is a digit. So I'll say, let me perform, just compute this. So I know what is the previous value, that is 225 into 10, and I just perform the subtraction with the ASCII value. So that will give me the 256. And I just consume the next character, which is nothing but my assignment operator. And assignment operator is not a digit, so it will come out of the loop here. Right? And once it is come out of the loop, so I have to just push those extra characters back to the input string. And for that, I just did the ungetChar. I mean, which is considered to be inefficient right now, but this is just a small lexer. So I just, just simply throw back that extra character in my input stream here by performing this ungetChar. What exactly is my next thing? So I have to return the token. So let me write it as a num token. So whatever I'm saying, that this is a num token. Fine. Otherwise, if this is not going to happen, I mean, if it is not a digit at the first point, so I'll say in that case that my lexeme is null. I mean, I'm not taking that operator as a lexeme, and I'll say I'm going to return that particular operator, which is nothing but C. Making relevance at this point of time. Any comment, anything which you want to make, please ask.
Sir, here are we only looking for numeric things and no
Right.
keywords?
I mean, if you recall, I mean, the language specifications is in front of you. We are only supposed to deal other numbers and the operators here, nothing else, small lex. Fine.
Okay, sir.
So this, any other comment, any other thing, any one of you have not understood, please let me know. So this is how we have to initiate the development of the lexical analyzer. Knowing the language specification, knowing the list of the keywords, knowing the list of tokens, we have to do like this. But again, I must say that at this point of time, this lexical analyzer or this small lexer is a very inefficient lexer, because as you can see, I have to do so many times IO operations, right? I have to use certain data structures and so on and so forth. So this has to be very efficient in terms when we actually look into the finite state machine. So this is just an example when we are looking at these things here. Fine. Anything, guys, you want to ask, please? Otherwise, we can move forward then. Yes, please. Someone has unmuted himself.
Yeah, sir, what is num here? Like, we are assigning some values to lexeme, sir. So after this, lexeme will be my 256, say. So
yeah, so num is a token. So I said that if you are using some lexeme, that 256, so I have to tokenize it. And for tokenization, I must say what is my token name. So I'm saying this is a number. In short, I'm writing it as a number. You can write anything, the meaningful token name. If I would have, let's say, I am Ram. So if your lexical analyzer has recognized this as a string, so it'll say this is the token name, that is str, whatever is written in the language specification. Am I making clear this thing?
So basically, it's returning whether it's a string or number.
It is returning a token. We should say like this. And the token name is a num because it has recognized it as a number.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
Otherwise, if you see, else it is returning simply the operator, the arithmetic operators, which we are not taking it as any operator. We are saying just return it as it is operator. So that it's just a small lexical analyzer. He sees able to differentiate between the the numbers and the arithmetic operators. Fine, guys. So let me proceed. Yeah, any other doubt?
Sir?
Yeah.
Sir, I have a confusion. Like in the else part, we are returning the character and the lexeme is put null. Shouldn't it be the other way around?
Yeah, obviously, absolutely correct. So this is just one way of interpretation. You could have, stored the actual value of that operator into the lexeme, and you would have returned the actual. You could have returned like this. Okay, this is a add operator or something like this. This is a multiplication. You could have returned this. So this is just one way. You have recognized it, absolutely correct.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
So lexical analyzer on your black screen, there should be line numbers and the corresponding token and the associated lexeme which is associated with it. That is fine. That's the thing what the syntax analyzer expecting. And for the line numbers, you can just introduce somewhere line here that line number is equal to line number +1 by just initializing line number equals to 1 here. This is just one part you have to do for handling the this error detection part, so that one should know what exactly token has been recognized wrongly at the corresponding line number. So this is just one small implementation example, which should be motivating example for the high level in language specifications. Let me move further, guys, here. Now, challenges in the lexical analyzer that we have to understand appropriately. So first of all, I mean, as per our recent example, it is just reading character by character. And most importantly, the look ahead pointer is going to make a key role in the lexical analyzer, because look ahead pointer is going to recognize what kind of token I'm going to read and when the current token finishes. Now you need to justify these 2 points. Suppose my lexical analyzer has just read A here. So look ahead pointer, I mean this pointer, let me call it as a LP. This will expect, okay, since I have read A, so probably I would be expecting another character belonging to the same class of token, let's say B. So this is why it's saying what kind of token I am expecting to read here next. And look ahead character pointer will also facilitates us in understanding or in tokenizing when the current token finishes. So look ahead pointer, when it will reach here, then only he will flag an alarm. Oh, come on, you have read a identifier prior to this because you have hit a word boundary, a word separator. So look ahead pointer has very much importance, guys. And one more important thing, I mean, corresponding to this, that the first character cannot determine what kind of token I am going to read. For example, we just looked at earlier also. I mean, if I have this situation, either this or this. So I should not, I mean, if someone has written like this, so I'll not say, I means your lexical analyzer should not say that, okay, I have hit a assignment operator. Your lexical analyzer should show some patience and see, let me read some extra characters and then I'll say that this is the assignment operator, because possibly this could be this, that comparison operator. So first character cannot stand alone determine that what class of token you are going to read. And I'm expecting that you should agree on this point. So these are some of the challenges in the, the lexical analyzer. So look ahead pointer needs to be taken for determining the appropriate class of the token. Fine. Now, so this is one just random example here. Now we have to see how we are going to implement our symbol table, because that has to make an interface to the lexical analysis, right? Because as soon as I have tokenized something num and the corresponding attribute 56, so I have to store this information at some point of time to my repository. So recall in the last session we said we'll take this is a data structure which is nothing but an array of structures or simply array of records here. So let's first understand the interface and then we'll actually understand its implementation part. Fine. So it says that the lexical analyzer phase is going to incorporate all the information for a related translation. The symbol table is going to inject the information for the related translational phase of the compiler. So right now, I did not bother in which context this thing is occurring, what is its data type, what actually amount of memory is required by this particular thing, what is going to be the scope of this particular variable. I'm not bothered. I did not bother about write this. So lexical analyzer with respect to this symbol table here. So lexical analyzer needs the information related to the class of the token and the associated lexeme with it. That's it. as I said, the token and the corresponding attribute here. Now, what is going to be the operations of your symbol table? What two functions you have to implement for designing this symbol table? Can anyone guess? I mean, since we have already discussed this thing, what exactly I have to do? Because I need to put this information, right? I need to put this information into some array of records. Come on, guys, I need certain answers from your side. And again, I must say, I'm not asking you something which we haven't discussed yet. Any responses?
Token and lexeme pair.
That we have already tokenized, right? I'm saying what should be the operation to the symbol table. So how the symbol table should fetch this information? Or how this information needs to be stored? Come on, this is a very layman question, I must say. I mean, a very easy question.
Simple lookup into the symbol table.
Right. I just need to perform a search operation, a lookup operation, or I'll inject this information straightforwardly. My goal is done, right? So here are two functions which is going to be written in your implementation for the symbol table with respect to the lexical analyzer. So it says first operation is insert. The arguments are the lexeme S and the token T. So it says store the lexeme S and the token T and return the corresponding pointer where this information stored in that data structure of the symbol table. Or we have another operation which is lookup, which is nothing but simply search operation. It will search the corresponding lexeme, and if it is present, it will simply return the pointer for the lexeme S, or it will simply return null if it is not found. Because let's suppose, I mean, why this operation is being carried out, if some of you have visualized. Suppose if I am, again, I'll take the same example, flag equals to flag plus 1. So as soon as if your lexical analyzer has tokenized it to an identifier with the corresponding lexeme, let's say flag, so this information must be already stored somewhere in the symbol table. And again, I am getting the same identifier. So what exactly needs to be done? So lexical analyzer says, oh, come on, I have tokenized it again into an identifier, but the lexeme associated with this flag. So before invoking this function, let me invoke this function, that is lookup with the corresponding lexeme S, which is nothing but my flag, and it'll say, oh, come on, this lexeme is already present. It will also return the pointer where it is present. So I'll not store the redundant information in my symbol table. Fine? Guys, making relevant everything up to this point. And if you realize, just few minutes back, we are discussing one important issue which the lexical analyzer mostly needs to handle at certain point of time, that how to recognize the, I must say, the keywords and the identifiers separately. Can anyone answer at this point of time? Because we have discussed sufficient information related to this with respect to the implementation part. Come on, guys, please. I need certain answers. Doesn't matter relevant or irrelevant.
So at the end, when we have totally passed through a particular keyword or identifier, we do the lookup, and then in case it was a keyword, then we come to know.
Right. So what exactly you are saying? I mean, let me put some more light on it. So I'll say, if suppose the language specification has been given to me, and let's suppose, assuming there are 25 keywords in my language, and I'll say, now I have implemented the symbol table. So initially, I will initialize my symbol table with all those list of keywords, let's say K1 to K25. And now this has been already done. So whenever, let's suppose, again, I'm writing the same statement. So when I'll hit this, I'll tokenize it as an identifier. I'll say, let me perform a lookup operation in the symbol table with this corresponding lexeme S. If the lookup operation is simply returning in null, so that means I have to recognize it as an identifier. And obviously, this is an assignment operator that obviously it will not create any ambiguity. But what about this? So I'll say somewhere my ki is belonging to L. So I'll say when I perform a lookup operation, I'll say this is already present. So I will give the preference to the keywords and I'll recognize it as a keyword here. So the answer to the previous ambiguity here, that the symbol table beforehand will be initialized with the appropriate list of the keywords. And whenever you are scanning your tokenization part, then you have to perform a lookup before taking the decision. And if something is matching with the existing list of the keywords, so say it is a keyword rather than an identifier. So this is the technical, how we are technically resolving this particular issue here. Any questions up to this point, guys? Anything, whatever you want to make. All right. So let's stop here. We'll discuss how to implement the symbol table and other implementation issues, which you may or may not come across while developing the lexical analyzer. And once we are done with that, then we'll actually move to the specification part and subsequently the implementation of the finite state machine. So I'm stopping here, guys. If you have anything to discuss with respect to this point, whatever we have discussed, please let me know your questions. Anything, whatever we have discussed up to this point.